3, 2, 1, showtime!
Oh, okay. CO, hello, I'm Cade, Thomas, and welcome to Double Feature Movie Club. We got a great discussion ahead for you this week. I am joined this week by Diane and Andrew. How you guys both doing?
Great.
Fantabulous.
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 That's good. That's pretty high praise for how you're feeling.
You know what? I've had a pretty good week.
That's good. That's good.
I've had a great week.
Mm-hmm.
I have had it absolutely great. I have seen everyone that I love and admire this week.
Good.
Oh, that's sweet.
It is. And I've had lots of cake.
Yes. Do we need to mention how it was your birthday this week? It was your birthday.
It's my birthday.
Happy birthday,
Yay,
Diane.
Me. You're gonna sing? If you're gonna sing, I need to know now.
I am not going to sing. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't want that on the public record. Me singing.
Yeah. Someone did send me a link to the Beatles singing. You say it's your birthday.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh,
Yeah.
happy birthday. Oh.
Oh no! Can you do Sean Connery for me? Can you do Sean Connery?
Happy birthday, Diane. Make sure you take your martinis shaken, not stirred.
Which I do prefer shaken martinis.
Yeah.
Oh.
Some people say that that chips the ice, right? And so it's actually kind of worse to get it shaken and then stirred.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird. It's yeah. So it might not actually be the best way of ordering it. That's what people have said. But
Well, I think it helps the vermouth though.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't stand vermouth. So when I order a martini, it's more like, can I have a vodka on the rocks?
Yeah. Great. Well, this week we are talking about the movies Hunt for the Wilderpeople and Bad Education, which so Hunt for the Wilderpeople is on Netflix, but it's also like on like a lot of free streaming things. I noticed it's like on like Pluto and a few other. I don't know. I don't want to name the ones. It's probably not, but it's on a lot of free streaming services. So it's pretty simple, pretty easy to watch that one. And then the other one we're watching is Bad Education, which is an HBO original. So if you watch that on HBO, that's good.
Well, hot diggity dog.
Yeah. So. Anything before we get started? Anything you guys want to talk about up top? Anything that you're watching? Anything at all before we get started?
Let's talk Hallmark movies.
Okay.
The Wedding Bell series has been really, really good. I think both of you would enjoy it.
Okay.
I am actually being facetious at this point. I don't think you would enjoy it at all, but to my friends out there that love Hallmark, it's a great trilogy.
This is what I get for giving Diane the floor to talk about whatever she wants.
Give me limits.
But what's it about, Diane? Go ahead and walk us through it. What's the
No, I'm not going there with you two. What I do want to ask Andrew is who is going to win Best Picture this year? Next week.
Next week's the Oscars.
So this is Oscar week. I do want to put a plug in for I'm on another social media site, or not social media. I'm on another podcasting affiliate known as So Many Sequels, and I do it with my friends Josh, Garrett, and David. and we just recently talked about the Oscars, about what we think is going to win. We think that The Power of the Dog is going to win Best Picture. But we also kind of concluded that Coda might be the underdog this year and win. We don't know just yet.
And Andrew was telling me right before this that's the only Best Picture nominee that you haven't seen yet, right?
That is correct.
Andrew watches them all.
In the next week or so, I hope to change that. But yeah. But go listen to So Many Sequels. We're on pretty much every platform that you can think of, and let us know what you think.
Yeah. So when is that? When does your Oscar episode go out? Does it go out tomorrow?
The Oscar predictions episode goes out tomorrow.
Okay.
So tomorrow meaning Monday.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. This people might be watching this later. Yeah.
March 21st. So, but yeah, we might do Oscar wrap up show. We don't know what everybody's availability is, but we will get back to you on that one. But we are super excited about the Oscars on Sunday.
Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you talk about how Sam Elliott feels about the Oscar nominated?
We don't mention that man's name.
He had some strong feelings.
He definitely had some strong feelings about it.
Well.
It goes to show you a bit like. Did you hear his comments, Andrew? Okay. I mean, it goes to show you like what these actors, like, he's not used to, I think, a press tour, or like used to getting all of these, like, I don't know, these questions and stuff. You know, like I remember a few years back when Gary Oldman was promoting Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and he got himself into a lot of issues because that was kind of the largest press tour he had done for, I mean, his entire career, and he hasn't really done any since. These people aren't these older actors aren't used to getting these questions and being put under the grill and the spotlight of these things, and they put their foot in their mouth quite a bit. And I think it kind of goes to show you.
I have to disagree with you on Sam Elliott on this one. I think Sam Elliott's just going to tell you what he thinks no matter what. And he doesn't really give a crap about what you think about what he thinks.
Yeah,
He's just going to give you his opinion. And it's refreshing in some ways. In other ways, he can only get away with it because he's an old dude with a great mustache.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
No, it's.
So I think that's part of it. But I don't know if it's a press tour training thing, or because he's done plenty of those. I think it's just he's going to tell you his opinion.
Yeah. I think it's kind of it too.
Yeah.
No, I.
Did you guys ever watch the Netflix series that he had with the Ranch? I think is what it's called.
Yeah, no, I didn't watch it. I know what you're talking about, but no, I didn't watch it.
My father watched.
I did.
Those. Yeah.
I watched the first couple of seasons, and I think he just played himself.
Yeah. He's interesting. I'll tell you. Did you ever guys watch The Hero? It was him, and he was the star of it, and it was a few years back, and it was kind of, you don't get to see Sam Elliott as the star very often, but he was the star in The Hero. And
no, I didn't, but I know what you're talking about.
And it's I think it's his best role. He's playing, I think, he's playing this, he's essentially playing himself. He plays this guy who is this former Western actor who's living out in Hollywood that is finding roles harder to find, and sort of living off of his former glory. And he does like voiceover work. Like the big thing is like he's like selling like this barbecue chicken. He's like, barbecue chicken, it's so he's like going in and doing these different and so it's
chicken.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't know. It's like, but anyway, so it's a pretty good movie. It kind of has some odd things in it, but it's a character thing, and I think there's a really good. I think he's a fantastic actor. I think Sam Elliott is just amazing, but
I think he really can be a fantastic actor. It's just the fact that he's so typecast in these Western films, and he's kind of like the I don't know, he's kind of like the face, like today's generation for the poster boy Western Star.
Yes, and which is
Because
odd because like so recently there has been more of an exploration of like he's not that though. Like that's the characters he plays, and that's certainly the characters they play. But like the hero's kind of about that, and then like with his bit role and when he did in Parks and Recreation, remember that he played like the other version of Ron Swanson, where he's kind of like he's a Californian. Oh, did my thing go out?
Yeah.
Sorry, he's a Californian. That's what he is. He grew up in Sacramento, and like that's where he was born. And so he has family, of course, that have ties to I think he says Texas and different things. But like then he grew up around Portland. Like he was born in Sacramento, and then he went to school in Portland. So he's this like, and then he lived most of his life, in L.A. And so he and I don't know, there's all this stuff about he smokes weed, and like that's a big part of both of these characters. He plays these roles, but he's really not that character.
So wait, he's not from
1883.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not from 1883.
So it was kind of a shock to me to hear him talk about it in that way, and I guess the way that his comments were is like he took it a little bit personally, what was said. Yeah. And because it was kind of like he took that as like an attack on what his art that he's created for the past X amount of decades or whatever. I don't know, because he'll talk bad about in that same interview, he's talking bad about John Wayne and John Wayne movies and how those aren't good. So like it's interesting. Like he's an interesting guy, and they want to make him like this one-dimensional guy. But I don't know. I was kind of let down by the comments that he said, but at the same time, it's not just people are trying to put him in this lane at this thing of like, this is his point of view. He's this old Western guy who's like saying these things, and I'm like, no, there's something a little bit more fascinating happening there. That's not just like everyone wants to put it into this little box, and it's not that.
Yeah, and it's really just his opinion.
Yes,
it's just an opinion.
Yeah.
And if that's how he feels about it, if he saw the movie and he didn't care for it, more power to him. I saw this movie called The Man Who Killed Hitler, and they did something with Bigfoot.
And then Bigfoot.
And absolutely the worst movie I've ever seen. And I actually walked out of Last House on the Left. So, and I would have walked out of that movie, except I couldn't.
So, fun fact, that was going to be, just to clue our audience in a little bit, that was on our list of movies to watch, but Diane and I sometimes go with a friend of ours, Jennifer, to watch these movies, and for a movie night, and we decided just to watch The Man Who Killed Hitler and then Bigfoot, and it stars Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott is the star of that movie, and I so wish that we would have waited and saved it for the show, because boy.
No, I wouldn't have watched it. I would have got to no.
Yeah.
But he didn't play a Western. I mean, he wasn't a cowboy in it.
No. He was a hero. He was a hero, yeah.
It changed my entire, now I can't look at Sam Elliott the same way ever again since.
It's weird because like it has parts of it that you like. I recommend watching it.
No, there's not any part of it that is good.
I have no
Sam
say.
Elliott couldn't even have helped that thing out.
It's bad. It's bad, but like it's bad, but it has some interesting. I think there's some like it's an experience but it's not like so bad it's good. It doesn't go into that territory either. It's the bad is just bad, but however, at the end of the day, I'm glad that I'm living a life in which I have seen that movie. I don't want to never watch it again.
Entire life. Not seen that movie, and Andrew, if you have not seen it, don't.
I have not.
That's my advice.
Don't you want to see? Because it takes place in the 80s or something, or 70s? I don't know when it quite takes place, but it takes place sometime in the past. It's unclear.
It doesn't matter.
But there's flashbacks to whenever Sam Elliott as a young person killed Hitler. And then he's contacted by the U.S. government to go and kill Bigfoot.
Of course he is.
Yes, and so the end of the movie is him like going out into the wilderness hunting this Bigfoot, and boy does it go! It is an insane.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. That whole scene, yeah. Great.
Yeah, it's just not worth it. Not worth it at all. Now,
Okay.
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer. That's another story. That is a great movie.
Yes, Diane wants to talk about that at some point.
Yeah, you guys have got to see it. It's a great movie.
Okay. Well, we will jump on in here to our first discussion, Hunt for the Wilderpeople. We'll have our feature presentation music play, and then we're going to jump over to Andrew, and Andrew's going to tell us a little bit about what the movie is, and then we're going to go into a little discussion. That's how this works.
Okay.
Before we get started, just want to say we've never seen these movies before. We had literally just watched them recently, so these were new experiences for us as well. So just wanted to say that. And then leave comments below of any questions you want about the movie, about us. We'll take any questions, and we'll do that at the very end of the segment if you have any. And okay, we will get started. Here's our feature presentation.
The Hunt for the Wilderpeople is and there we go. The Hunt for the Wilderpeople is a film directed by the one and only Taika Waititi. It was made back in 2018. The film is about a runaway who ends up in the foster care of two people who just live out in the wilderness. Well, one is a very hard-nosed person who just really doesn't like hanging around people, and his wife is the sweetest woman in the world. Well, after his wife dies, the husband is left to watch after the runaway kid. They adopted him. They are legally the guardians of him. And what happens next is that the kid runs away into the woods. The uncle, which is the uncle who is watching after him, pursues him, and then all of a sudden, they are caught in a nationwide manhunt.
Yep, that was good, Andrew.
Thank you. I did my best on that one.
That's good. No, it's Sam Neill is the uncle guy, and he's great. This takes place in New Zealand. I don't know if you said that part, but that's yeah.
I don't remember it.
Yeah. It's a very New Zealand movie. Overall, what was your opinion, Diane, of this movie?
I kind of love this movie because I found it entertaining, and I love this kid. His best friend is Tupac. Tupac. That's his name.
Yeah.
Tupac. Yeah. So, and I kind of love that. And then the relationship that develops between these two people that really don't even like each other. They don't want to be around each other. And at the same time, it becomes like a buddy movie. That I don't want to give too much of it away, but I really, really loved that. The plot was good. The writing was good. The director, screenwriter was in the movie, and he's hilarious in it. Mm-hmm. And the cinematography was gorgeous. New Zealand, I want to go there now. I really do. It's so beautiful.
And what'd you think overall, Andrew?
I enjoyed this movie so much. It was just such a delight to see, like, when you see like good-hearted comedy and you mix it well with like different elements, and movies like these. Like, I love Taika Waititi. I think Taika Waititi is like is such like a gem among movie makers today. And the fact is that I think this movie is so well done. It's entertaining. It's very heartfelt at times, and it's also kind of unexpected.
Yes.
So is he from New Zealand too?
Taika? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. He's Maui, or however we pronounce that, Maori. I don't know how he's a native, indigenous of
indigenous.
Indigenous tribe. Yeah. there. And so
And I
that's
did not realize that Sam Neill was from New Zealand too.
Yes. So that's his like real accent, I guess, that which he's hit. Like that's what, like, you know, that's a big deal with like Alan Grant from Jurassic Park. Like he does a accent that's not, and it slips through sometimes. It's not a great accent, but typically he's not. I love Sam Neill a lot. He's such a heart to all his characters. But he's not. I just wish he would just use his regular accent. And I wish Hollywood would just let him just use that, because it's a nice accent. He's not the best.
It is a nice accent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but I love him. He's such a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I love most of the films that he's in, just because, you know, he seems to pick really good vehicles to be part of.
And he's done a lot.
And I love the
TV stuff too, right? Like he's done like he's I've seen him in a few different TV movies and things. Sam Neill will pop up, and it's always fun to see Sam Neill in things.
It's gonna raise it, elevate it.
Elevate it, yeah. The I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun comedy. There was a lot of. It's hard to. We'll get into specifics, I guess. Now
it is hard to.
It's kind of hard to talk about without
giving away.
Not giving too much away, and not giving not getting into our top 3 things. So I'll get into one of mine that I just really like, that kind of opens up. I think my favorite part of the film is how it plays with genre. It's like a film. Like it's not like fourth wall breaking in the sense, but it's not like it knows it's a film, but it rides that line of like all the characters are familiar with these Hollywood movies and these Hollywood films. Like that's a big part of it, and that like they're playing into the roles that they would be if they were in a movie. So you have like the quote unquote villain who's like trying to like turns into like this movie villain where I gotta find this kid, and oh my god, is that not that's the funniest thing ever? Is like she just turns into like the sort of the police sergeant or whatever, the person who's coming after this kid, like. And then like they're referencing Terminator, and they're referencing, you know, Lord of the Rings in such funny different ways. That's like these characters, and then like the chasing, all this stuff, because these characters are so familiar with like these Hollywood movies that it kind of, they feel like at times that they're in that. And I think it doesn't go to the point of it breaking the fourth wall and it sort of being annoying, and like it knowing that you're knowing this, it plays it completely straight. You don't ever feel like these characters don't ever feel like they are like fake characters. They feel real. But like anybody in these sort of situations, they would sort of think of themselves of like I think a lot of people sort of, you know, see movies in their real lives and sort of things, and so they start playing these sort of tropes. So it's kind of
She certainly did.
She certainly did.
She didn't even care when she dropped him off if they, you know, was a house sitting there. She goes from that to No Child Left Behind, and almost Rambo-like in her desire to get this child back. She's going to save him no matter what, and she didn't even care about him when she dropped him off. It's like, yes, looks like a good place.
It's really, because like she becomes so like upset. That I love that character. And she did such an amazing job, and that's just. The fact that she just goes hard into like she is open at the beginning of the film. She's wanting to put him in a place and everything, and you know, and trying to be nice, and you know, it's seemingly. I mean, it's but then by the end of it, she just turns into the role that this movie sort of wants her to be. It works so well. It works so unbelievably well. I love that character.
I love that she described this kid as, you know, being this really bad kid, and that he does spit. He will spit. And I even in the this is a child spitter. So yeah,
her when she's hilarious on the news with whenever they talk. The No Child Left Behind. That's just a reoccurring thing. That's not what they're like. It's like they're also influenced by American culture. That's also talked about, like how there's this, they're there, but like there's just a lot of at the very end where they're like, I don't think that's a New Zealand police thing. I think that's an American thing. Whenever they're arresting him, I think that's just a thing in movies. Yeah, and so they all know this. They even said that once, right? Yeah. You have to read him as rights. We don't do that here. Well, the guns, the idea of guns, like they needed the gun, like and so they're just very heavily influenced by American films and America. Yeah, it's It's subtle. It's not like over the top, but that's just a layer of this that's brilliant.
I was going to look up to see if New Zealand even does foster care systems. Most countries don't, but it is a very American thing to do since the 80s. So it's like, yeah, do they even do that? Yeah. So it was pretty funny though. How they portrayed it was hilarious.
Yes. What was one of your three, Diane?
I loved her. I love the fact she turned into Rambo and the references to American life and all that. But the kid and his, what do they call that? His poems?
His haikus.
His haikus. Thank you so much. I mean, and Sam Neill was like, you don't want to hear it. And Sam Neill's like, well, yeah, go ahead and tell me. I'll tell you if it's bad or not. It's like, and they are hilarious. Hilarious. Yeah, I love that. I love that part of the screenplay that he gave him that little talent to count on his fingers and
and
you can work this
line.
out.
Yeah,
it's with a haiku you can work out all your issues.
Yeah, that was good, and it's a through line throughout it, and it comes back in really great ways and everything. What was one of yours, Andrew?
One of mine was the chemistry between the kid and his uncle.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I just, we're on total. I don't want to say we're on total opposite ends of the spectrum, but there are two people who are just. I mean, one is technically a criminal. I mean, and the other is just like an outdoorsy, very, very lone person, and he wants nothing to do with the kid. But by the end of the movie, they just kind of find their own like common ground, and they kind of build their relationship on that. And I think that's great.
Yeah, no, and they end up having a lot more in common than they sort of realize on early on, and it's tough because like I don't want to give too much because I do heavily recommend other movies. I'm like, whatever, this is what happens. This one it's a great film to sort of watch and follow through and sort of see it unfold. It's and it's it's on Netflix. A lot of people have Netflix just now, and it's like I said, it's I think free with ads on a lot of different platforms. So it's heavily available to watch. But I know that Diane mentioned beforehand. I wanted to mention that Taika's cameo as the minister is at the perfect time of like, I mean, it's like the kind of one of the darkest moments of the movie. Like early on, it just hits you, and then when he walks on, you're like, oh boy. Like you kind of, because I mean, and now knowing him a lot, it's going to be a comedic thing. At the time, I think that might have even been more of a shock to some people since he was lesser known at that point. But boy, is that funny! And then the the doors, and then what's behind door number 2? That's such a funny bit. Yeah, I mean, the humor is one of mine. It's just, it's a funny movie. And there's several scenarios of that where it just shines. And that's, of course, what Taika's known for now. But I think it's important to sort of say that it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And it's unique. It's a unique comic voice that it shines. And it shines the characters that he creates and with him and just everything.
And he I think, and this would be my second part to this, would be the casting was perfect for his characters that he wanted to create. They were able to interpret what he wanted and truly make them come alive. You believed every character, even the crazy lady from the foster care system. You truly got that she believed in what she was doing. Mm-hmm. No matter how crazy it was, she truly believed in it at the time. And so I think when you have a screenplay like that is so funny, but can be borderline as far as, going too far, the casting is everything. And she picked a good cast for that. She really did. All of them were just great in their roles. Even the guy that was the father of the girl that rescued the kid in the oh my god.
Yeah. That's a great scene.
Just a really small role, but cast perfectly. The guy just he goes for it. I
Yeah.
mean, he's like, I'm all in. I'm going to
Yeah.
do this. And yeah, it made that whole sequence really worth it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, you've seen, like, if you've seen a lot of indie things, as far as like, I've seen the type of movie that this is, like in like student film things, and like it's a thing that there's a lot. This is a type of movie that's not it doesn't typically work, but this does, and it's the type of movie where it's like it's kind of an Odyssey. It's kind of Odyssey inspired. Like it's kind of like where you follow the characters go through these different things and they meet these various weird people. And that's been done like, it's calls back to like the Odyssey, Homer's The Odyssey, in which you have some character trying to get to a spot and they run into a different cast of characters. And that's a common vehicle for comedies, of course, done. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is very famous for doing that. And it's, and this, it's a little bit, that's not the point of the movie. This plays it a lot more subtly, where it doesn't feel tired like a lot of those other movies are, and where it's like, oh, we're just getting another person doing a comedy bit. It doesn't ever feel like that in this movie. But I think in lesser hands, or in people that where it's not hidden as well, because it's kind of a crime caper kind of thing. They're not committing crime, but it's I don't know. It's a coming of age. It brings in a lot of genres in it, but it just keeps the characters right there. Yeah, I've seen this type in a lot of things, and it shows how great Taika's voice is and how sure-handed he is as a director, for it to not come off as tired or not inventive. It seems like an inventive movie, yet at its base, it's really not. Like but it's his voice and how unique that is that makes it a great film.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have another thing you want to point out, Andrew?
Yeah, I do. And I love the pacing of this movie. I love the pacing of it, and just how how like quick it was. It just kind of knocked everything out, and nothing was ever, it didn't feel like the movie was slow at times, or there was just like, well, why is this here? Or why is this here? No, everything is there for a reason. And it was just very well paced.
Yeah. So the chapters, I mean, did you guys, I mean, it's broke up, the film's broke up by, I don't know how many chapters, I didn't keep track, but there's quite a few chapters. I'm going to say seven chapters, maybe 8. I don't know, somewhere along the, it started out like chapter 1, a lot happens in chapter 1 of the thing. Like you're like, it's a movie like you think it's setting up something with the family, and we talked about that already in the thing. The woman dies, and like that's a huge shift to the movie. That you think it's setting up a certain thing, but then it's like, oh no, and it zigs and goes a different way than what you were expecting. But the movie never really does that again, and that was sort of that was one of my only sort of complaints about it. It's like it starts off so strong, and yet everything else seems very. There's nothing really that stands out in any of the chapters. You're out in the New Zealand bush, and it's just kind of they all sort of are in the same locations, and there's different characters, of course, that comes in and everything. But I kind of wish it would have kept me off my feet a little bit more, like the opening did. That was my only sort of complaint about the film, was that it kind of lost a little bit of its, like, then at a certain point you know what's going to happen. Like the movie, you know that they're gonna become friends, and you know that this sort of things are gonna happen. And
I thought it was going to end with a Thelma and Louise moment there for a little while, so it kind of surprised me at the end.
Yeah. No, it's playing with that, but because it keeps heightening. Like, and that's what's great, is like it's a movie that it keeps heightening, and you're like, well, it's never going to go up to that because this involves a kid and this man. So it's like this lighthearted comedy. So like it keeps ratcheting up. It can't end up there, and so it plays with that really well. Of like it's not going to end there, and so it plays with the audience expectation approximation of that, because like yes, a typical crime movie in which that sort of thing it would end in a Thelma Louise high, but you know that it can't go there.
Well, I wasn't too sure there for a while, you know.
Because it's also a comedy. It's also like, you know,
Yeah.
so like I think it does that part really well too. But yeah, that was overall I thought it was pretty good. I really enjoyed it, and it's great for great comedy and stuff. I don't know. It's I feel like I'm maybe overselling it at sometimes, because it is great, but it's not like one of the greatest comedy films of all time. It's good. It's good. I enjoyed it. But it's still, you know, it's still, I hate to say it because it's a good movie, but it's a little disposable. I'll forget about a lot of this stuff in a month's time.
Mm-hmm.
And
the one thing I will say, about this movie is that like it's like good. It's like good fun. You know, this is a movie that I would, you know, if there was nothing else on, I turn this on just to have it on in the background.
yes.
You know, there's not so much to be said there, except this movie is just, you don't get movies like this too long, like that come around too long. So I personally, I really love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I really love this movie. So
it's better than most modern day American comedy films. There's been things that are popped and have done great. You know, we watched Bad Words, was it last week? I don't know. Yeah, about last week. And so that's a great example of an American comedy film. But most of these things, these big budget things, are just not great. And this sort of shows how that can be done. And I love a good comedy movie. And this is that. But it's just, I don't know. I still feel like it's not like, I wouldn't say it crosses the line into being an amazing film. Like a truly groundbreaking, amazing film. It is not like some comedy films have crossed into being just like a superb, earth-shattering film. It's not that, but it's still just great. It's a great movie, and it's a great thing to watch.
It's feel good. You know, it's just, it's very feel good.
And I would watch it again.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
This is a movie that a family can watch together.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think we don't talk about that very often, but there are people who do listen to podcasts and you think, oh, you know, I wonder if I could, my 11-year-old son and 12-year-old daughter could watch this movie, and absolutely they could. You know,
it's got some edge, but it's not any edge that like a kid wouldn't already been exposed to. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, you can go out on IMDb and see, you know, follow the parental guidelines, but you know, there's not anything in this. It's about a kid. Mm-hmm. You know, the main character is a kid. So sometimes having an Odyssey kind of movie that centers on a kid can be enjoyable for the kids and for adults, and you don't get those very often. So
yes, that's true.
So if you have kids and you want to watch a good, you know, feel good movie that's funny, that's going to have, you know, jokes in it that you're going to enjoy and jokes that your kid's going to enjoy, then watch this.
Yeah, I would look at. I mean, it is really good, and I think kids would enjoy it. I mean, there are some. I mean, it's a little bit coarser than an American family movie would be, but it's still, though. I don't think it's nothing that kids wouldn't know of and wouldn't see. Like it's not. But I do think it's not something that like Disney would never release this movie. How it is.
But they did release Thor Ragnarok, which was directed by Taika Waititi.
That is true. I have my problems with
you're
Thor
you're probably right. There's not any violence in this movie, so it probably wouldn't play well to Americans. But there's a potential that there could be. There's guns. We know how much those always play well.
Yes, yeah. And like it has an interesting sort of like it has a philosophy on guns. Like it like it's sort of, you know, hidden. Like this is a tool. Like it's interesting. Like that's also buried kind of within it. Like the police force don't really use it, and then but it's like, and that's sort of talked about, and then it's talked about how Sam Neill, like that sort of comes up a little later about his point of view about guns, and it's like not heavy-handed at all. It's just sort of it's there though, and that's fascinating. It's also fascinating what it's saying about like it's not it. I don't know, like this wouldn't where it's like our American sensibilities kind of are different than this, and it's like they're the criminal aspect of it. Like they're not treated as criminals, which is amazing, and like that these are like real people, and like why they turn to that is not like it's not like looked down upon. It's not like man waving its finger at it. It's just sort of portraying it as like it's humanizing these people that have a criminal background. And I found that to be really interesting and something that, again, wouldn't possibly make it like that, just how it's said in an American film. Or in a mainstream American film, at least.
Yeah.
True.
Okay, I guess we'll get into ratings here.
I do want to say one thing real quick.
Okay, go ahead, Andrew.
My favorite character of this entire movie, Psycho Sam.
Oh,
God,
yeah.
I love Psycho Sam.
He reminded
so
me
much.
of you. He reminded me of you. Just a little bit. Just especially the tunnel part, where, yeah. Yeah, we'll just play dead. It'll work.
Well, I just love how, like, what was funny about that character.
I love all the characters. These are so good.
He was supposed to be this guy who was this heavy, like a doomsday. He was making fun of like these doomsday preppers, and the fact that like at the end of the day he was not prepared for the government to arrive. No. That was absolutely hilarious. That like he had talks about all this. You got to be prepared, and you got to do all that. And then at the very end, when they actually stormed the place, he is not at all prepared. Is absolutely hilarious.
And his whole shtick at the end is just put on his bush suit and try to hide literally out in the open.
I thought it was he did a good job looking like a bush though.
Yeah. But that's like
in the middle of a field that has nothing around it. Yeah.
And whereas like an American comedy would like hit you over the head of like someone would say, oh, you say that you've been prepared for the government, and then now that they arrive, you're not, like that would be spelled out in such a blatant hit you over the head way. The fact that like that's just it's understood, the audience understands what the punchline is without you having to hit you over the head with what that is. I thought that was also it's great that's really the case. Okay, Diane, you want to go first with rating this?
I'm giving you 2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. I like movies that adults and kids can watch together and enjoy. Where's my thumbs? There they are. Yeah. I like movies like that. And I don't know. I've taken kids to movies for a long time, and maybe I've been taking them to the wrong kind. I'm wondering now if maybe I have the same problem that Sam Neill had in this movie.
Yeah. Okay, Andrew, what are you going to give it?
I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Oh, wow. That's pretty high.
Yeah.
Pretty high.
I'm really glad I got to watch this movie. Thank you for being on the list.
Yeah. None of them are probably, a lot of them aren't these uplifting, happy things. So that's nice. Sorry.
And it didn't require subtitles.
Well, it's just a nice break from what's going on right now in the world. Mm-hmm. So, kind of need it.
Yes, I agree. I'm giving, let me put it in here. I'm giving it the smiley face emoji. It was fun. It's not. It's nothing to. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. Like it's always good comedy. It's a great. It's funny. But like at the end of the day, I mean, it's not earth shattering, but it is a fun time that I would put it on again. I would enjoy it. It's a fun movie, and I did really, 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 really enjoy it from a comedy lighthearted perspective. Like you said, it's great during this time, and it's great just in any time. Comedy's good anytime, and I think this is a type of movie that I think you see a lot of comedy movies and you're like, boy, that's not going to age too well. I think this will age very well. I think that this will be hopefully something that it kind of has a timeless quality to it that I think it will be good. It was good when it came out. It's good now. I think it will continue to be something that people will, in a lot of his work, that you can go back to. I'm a big fan of What We Do in the Shadows. And we didn't really talk about Taika's filmography, but I love that movie, and I love the TV show it later turned into. Diane and I, we were watching Wellington Paranormal. That's his show. So it's a great show. And there's a few other ones of his that we need to watch. I don't know if they're on the list or not. We'll see. Okay, anything else that you guys got to say about this?
Nope.
Okay.
Go watch it. It's on Netflix.
Go watch it. It's on Netflix. Hunt for the Wilderpeople. We didn't give too much away. I mean, we kind of gave a few things away, but it's still, I think, even if you know the plot points, I think it still works as a film. Like, and it's still the comedy. There's so many great jokes. Okay. We are going to head into intermission. Be sure to grab yourself a snack or something from the concession stand. Before
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves some. Ooh, I'm out.
You got to go to the lobby.
Lobby.
Yeah, great. And we'll come back and we're going to discuss Bad Education, which, Diane will describe the plot of that movie.
Woo-hoo.
After intermission here. See ya.
Woo-hoo.
See you in a bit.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's intermission time. All these delicious treats are waiting for you at the refreshment stand. Delicious fresh popcorn, ice-cold cola, and candy you know and love. They're all ready for you now, so you won't have to miss any of the feature. Come and get them.
And now, on with the show.
There you go, Diane.
Thank you so much. Let me get out of, move over here a little bit so you can see me. I think that'd be a good idea. And I apologize for the blue glare for my glasses, but, old people have to have blue. And anyway. So let's talk about Bad Education. This is a Hugh Jackman movie. Just so you guys are aware, we are watching a movie with Hugh Jackman in it and Allison Janney, which I love both these actors. The film itself is based on a true story that occurred in the early 2000s at a school district in Long Island, New York, the Roseland School District, where Ollie, he's saying hi back there, where the school superintendent, which is Hugh Jackman, and Allison Janney, the assistant, stole several $1 million. So it's a great fraud, great scheme that happened at the school district. And the interesting part to me is the screenwriter for this movie. He put this on the blacklist. He actually went to this school and was in middle school when this scandal occurred. And so when the opportunity came to write a screenplay for it, he actually did and put it in another screenplay. And they both made it to the blacklist in 2016. And this one got picked up to make this movie, and with these two big stars in it. So I don't want to go into anything more than that's the general description. So if you guys want to talk about it now.
Perfect. I'll jump in here. Not to influence what you guys believe. I don't know. We don't talk about these movies beforehand, so I don't know. You guys could absolutely hate this movie, but I was absolutely floored by how amazing this film is. And that I haven't heard anyone ever talk about this.
I know.
And it was on HBO, so people had access to it, and it stars these characters, these people. This is an amazing, amazing movie. Like, this isn't even just like, oh, it's a good movie or whatever. This is a great movie. Like, this is phenomenal. Yeah. How amazing this film is.
This got a 93 on Rotten Tomatoes. It also won an Emmy.
Yeah, it should have won all the
TV movie.
Yeah,
and I think Hugh Jackman got a nom for limited series kind of nomination for an Emmy. But
Mhm.
it surprised me that it was a TV. It was on HBO, which is not just TV. But
What's,
this
what's
one
their
could have been
slogan?
released
It's more
in-
than TV. What was their slogan? It's not TV. It's not TV.
It's
HBO.
not TV. It's HBO.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely HBO. Yeah, this is an amazing movie. Didn't you love the opening of it?
Mhm.
I mean, when he's in the bathroom getting ready, and that entire opening sequence tells you that this guy is very surface, that all he cares about is appearance and yada yada yada. But then, as it gets into the movie, you realize he cares about these children.
Mhm.
He cares about their education. That this is something that, and even the screenwriter, when they interviewed him about it, he remembered meeting this superintendent when he was like a little guy, when they first moved into that area, and the guy knew his name.
Yes.
And he really cared about these kids, and
that's a big part of
just-
it too, is him like wanting to know everybody and know their story, and like that's a thing. Because that's the point. He wants to be liked. That's his whole thing. Is he
Yeah.
wants to be liked, but at the same time, like he wants to do a good job too. Like he wants to, like he wants to be number one. It opens with him going to speak about how they were ranked number 4, the number 4 school in our school system in America for like academics. I mean, some sort of academic list that was made, and they had a big banner and everything. And he's like, he was all happy for the recognition, but he wanted to, of course, be number 1. Like he had worked there for
That's
a
right.
decade.
Yeah.
And he single-handedly had been pointed to as the person who made this school be on the place that it was. Like he did that, and
Yes.
so he had results.
Yeah. Well, and this is in Long Island, where houses sell for $1 million and, are smaller than mine. And people were, getting their kids into an Ivy League school is everything to them. So they know that the school is going to be rated, banked up, based on how it's ranked. And this one really was. They had 95% graduation rate and, an unbelievable percentages of kids that are accepted into Ivy League schools. So that's what those parents are. This is a public school. This is what these parents are. That's what they want out of their public school.
Yeah.
But they,
And I'll tell you, I didn't know anything about this beforehand. I don't know if you guys were familiar at all with the story at all. I wasn't familiar with the story before watching this either. I knew it was about, from our thing last week where we just briefly looked into it, of like it was about a public school embezzlement of funds. That's all I thought. And so I didn't even know until it was revealed that Hugh Jackman was involved in that. Like that was kind of a shock to me. That you kind of, there were hints at possible that was the case, but like it wasn't overtly like I didn't know that. I truly didn't know that was that he was involved in that.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a shock to me, because I didn't know the story.
yeah, this movie wasn't on my radar. I didn't know about the scandal. I know about the Oklahoma Epic scandal, which is, they got away with $11 million. But it's so, I guess, it's pertinent to the times, I guess, in that sense. But yeah, it's the largest fraud ever occurred at a public school ever.
Yeah. Which, we should talk. Diane knows a lot about finances, and like this is right up here.
I know. The thing that got me, I'm going to just, let me digress here for a second, but when they were interviewing him at the end, and they said, how could you have done this? And he said, it started with, I used the wrong card and nobody said anything. And so the next day I bought a bagel with it. And then it got away from me after that. And I will tell you that in the course of my career, I've known a couple of people who committed fraud in the industry that I was in. And they would tell you the exact same thing. And the one person that I knew the best was like a grandmother, and she was, it started small. My son had a gambling debt. They were going to come after him, and, I had to do something. And it ended up being $7 million later. She spent the rest of her life in prison. So it's just, but when he said that really hit home for, this is how things like this happen.
Yes. And it didn't it didn't paint them as being evil. Like that's what like
They
I
were.
thought was in like they really there was a brilliance to the writing of being like they showed them as real people. Like they did bad things, but they did a lot. They all did a lot of good too. And that was something that was really interesting, and it didn't shy away from saying what they did was bad, which I kind of want to rewatch the film to sort of to see how, because like that's fascinating knowing now with Hugh Jackman and now having to rewatch it and see these interactions that he had with Allison Janney, because that's gonna be because like. That's interesting because what he said to her as she was getting fired was also very like he had to be talking about himself then too, like because he was doing that all like and how he was like judging her had to be also him, like what he was saying to himself in a lot of ways, because like
and the way he was communicating with her was like, go with me on this and I'll keep you out of prison. You could tell that was because he had everybody else behind him and nobody else could see his face. She could. So, that's part of what he was doing was giving her that read on him. And I think, but then, it shows him in the classroom with these little kids. And, he's the one who tells the high school paper reporter that, there's always a story behind the story. He's created his own nightmare in that case. But you could tell he really cared about these kids and he cared what happened to them. And he remembered them. When he sees the kid from Las Vegas, or when he's in Las Vegas for that conference and he sees this kid, he goes, "Hey, you were in my class."
Well, there
15 years ago.
It was brought up like he was there at the conference with a few people, right, or something, because like, or what was the like, but they didn't show up. Like he was the only one that was actually being there at like listening to the conference. All the other teachers were just out there gambling and all. So like, it was a nuanced sort of character of like they brought up. When you first meet him, like he is kind of set up as being perhaps a little frugal, or at least wanting to appear to be that he was like doing the whatever's the best, like about the flight, he's like, oh, whatever's the cheapest, he wants to appear at least to be whatever's the cheapest on that, and but yet he's later revealed to be embezzling all this money. Constantly in this movie, I was like, "Oh, this is an amazing film." Just different scenes of like Allison Janney. We didn't really talk about her character enough. That's one of mine on my list. I mean, I think she's not in it enough. It's really a Hugh Jackman movie, but she's the secondary lead of the thing. But she has
a great accent.
Yes, she does. She does a great accent.
Great accent.
Yes. And that's one of my three is Allison Janney, which I knew she's great in everything she does. And this role is great. And it just her family and that whole dynamic too. Like it, I don't know. Andrew, do you have anything?
Yeah, so I've got a lot to say about this movie. Number one, I love movies like these. Mm-hmm. I love movies like these, and movies like these are just are really great. But the one thing I love about this is how the characters are developed. Like, and everything just peels back like an onion.
Yes,
it really does. And the thing is that like it takes its time to like dive deep into it. So. And before we know it, it starts to become this big gold scandal, and I just love how everything. To me, it's kind of like it's kind of hard to compare it to any movie. It's kind of hard to compare it to any movie like that I can think of.
Yes.
Kind of like it's kind of like the Wolf of. Well, I would say the Wolf of Wall Street, but that's not a good comparison. But like story wise, when it comes to like
I agree.
People stealing money from like, especially from a big institution, and then all of a sudden they get caught and they're all coming down. I thought Hugh Jackman was terrific.
Yeah. I think it's Hugh Jackman's best performance. I would go as far to say that. I know that, what people say about Logan and all that. It's certainly a broader performance, but this is like that's a he's looking inward. Like it's like a real deep, like that's a fascinating character. And like, you don't see that character ever on screen. Like that is a fascinating character.
Yeah.
Like I said, the opening sequence, it starts up and you think guy is like totally, a farce. He's like, playing this, okay, I'm the school superintendent. You're all going to like me. And I'm like a politician here. And that's all I do. And like you said, Andrew, it's like peeling back an onion and you find out that this guy, all these components of him is so interesting and fascinating. And everything he does is well thought, and I don't want to use the word calculated, but I think calculated in some ways as well.
No, he definitely was calculated, because like when he bought the house in Vegas, the guy knew what he was doing. Yeah. But the only thing he didn't do was he bought it with the school's funds, so they were able to track him down pretty easily. And
I think one of the things that there was a few things that if people had told me this, I would have been sold on this movie right away. It is like an amazing cast of like a supporting cast, like an amazing supporting, like they're like, it's Hugh Jackman, Allison Janney movie. And I'm like, oh, but it has so many character actors that I did not know were in this film. And like the young cast is great. Like these are like people who have now starred and done different things that I absolutely love. That this young cast. I mean, Alex Wolff is in it as like a from Hereditary and Pig and a few other things. Like he's now submitted himself as like a great young up and coming actor who he plays the head of the newspaper, the student newspaper, and he's in it just for a bit. But like the casting, like it was just this casting was great, and
great.
And like taking all of these great character actors and making them small roles. The guy, I don't remember what his name is, but he was in American Vandal, and he's the head guy in that. And anything that I see him in, he is one of the funniest actors I've ever seen. He's the guy who plays her son, who is the one who causes all the trouble, and like because he goes to the Ace Hardware. And oh my God, he only
has like 3 scenes in the whole movie, but they're really impactful.
Yes. Yeah. And if you haven't seen American Vandal with him, you need to see that, Diane. It is. Oh, and he's like one of the stars of it, and he plays like this dope guy. He's this guy, this burnout in high school, and it's a Netflix series, and oh my goodness, he's hilarious. But Ray Romano.
I know
Ray Romano was in it.
Good in this.
I was trying to figure that out, and I looked at him, I'm like, I know that guy, and then I looked, and then I got on IMDb real quick, and I'm like, that's Ray Romano.
Yeah. I want Ray Romano to do these roles. Voice. Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, I knew it was Ray Romano.
At the very beginning, and you're like, oh, there's Ray Romano. And then you find out he's the head of the school board. And the reaction of the school board is amazing. They were like, call the FBI, call the police, and all that. And then he starts pointing out to them, oh, if we do that, guess what's going to happen? And they immediately fell in line. I mean, and that's true. That happened in the real story too.
And you imagine in that movie, or at least I did, that he's doing this because he, he wants to be number one. Like this is his big thing. Like he doesn't want this school. Like you wouldn't say that he's doing it for the kids per se, but he's also doing it because of just like personal reasons. Like this being number one is his biggest goal, which is still the truth. But he's also a secondary thing of like he wanted to do that because he would have gotten caught. Like so, there's also that aspect to it. There's 2 layers there that you don't really quite get until later.
Scandal. It's like Epic right now. It's trying to, they're the only thing I think that Allison Janney and Hugh Jackman's characters could have done better, that Epic did do better, is pay off a lot of politicians.
Yes.
you gotta grease their, the skids,
But
so.
Also interesting, they both independently stole from this. They were not right? Like that, they didn't know the other person was stealing, like, or at least that's not.
No, they did. They did. She did.
She knew that he was? Yeah. Okay, yeah, I could see that. She was the one that was actually facilitating everything. And so that's why she
come
was
on.
so certain that he was
Nobody
going to.
pays $800,000 a year for flyers.
Yes.
So
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
He knew.
Like she knew, but like he didn't know that she was until then, right? Or at least like yeah.
He knew.
Oh, you think they both
Oh
knew?
yeah. They
Okay.
were both in on it. Do you remember the scene where she shares her sandwich with him?
On the bleachers, yes. Great scene, yeah.
Yeah. Watch that scene again, and you'll go, "Oh my gosh, yeah, they knew."
Because and like there is some undercurrent there. Like I didn't know if they knew per se, but I think there's a reading to it. Yes, that they did know. But like that scene in particular is great because it sets up a part later about how there's a class thing here. That, like there's so many themes in this. It's just a brilliant thing. But there's the whole thing about how much money that they make. And how much money these parents make in this area, and how much that they get to sort of they look at. And there's a scene later where he's talking to the parent, and that came to him with this other problem of like you guys look at us like we're like servants for whatever to get whatever goal that you need done, and like you just talk down to us. You don't look at us as human beings, and we get paid this measly amount of money to essentially make these kids grow up to be these wealthy people as well. Like
to make your home worth more.
To make your at the end of the day to
Bottom
make your
line,
home worth, yes.
you make your home worth more because this school district is rated number 4 in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
So people move into this area because of school districts.
And what do they bring him? They bring him a gift basket for that.
Yeah.
Like he plays it off as like, oh, I don't like publicly. I don't like, these gifts of these things. Like he plays it off as like him being like, this is too much. I'm just doing a public thing. But you can tell later that sort of thing bothers it, like that, because it would, that like these people are making millions of dollars and doing all this off of his hard work, and you bring him a gift basket.
Right.
And why doesn't he get some of this chunk of change? And so you get it a bit, you get their perspective, and it's like not wholly bad. I mean, at the end of the day, they're stealing taxpayer money that these people are paying. They're localized. I mean, it's like it's money that's off of local taxes and stuff. So really, they're not. They're stealing from these people that should be probably paying them more in the first place. But at the end of the day, it's nuanced on top of that because it's nuanced because there's the school is not in good repair. There's also that aspect. That like
I mean that's where the money's coming from, right?
Yes.
When they get that, like how he's talking about the school budget, that's the most important thing, get the school budget passed, and because they're stealing from budgeted money.
Yes.
Right. I mean that's bottom line. That's what it is, and the way they're stealing from is they're not spending the money on things that they should, like new lab equipment or ceilings that leak, that kind of thing.
And that's
at the same time, it is a commentary on what we expect from our educators and how much we pay them, and the way that they are treated. I have educators in my family, and I'm amazed at what, how much effort and work that they put into other people's kids with very, very little recognition for that. Certainly not here in Oklahoma, because people don't like the teachers union and things like that. So
no,
I'd rather,
go ahead, Diane. What
I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to say anything more because it is very timely right now.
Yes.
Especially here in Oklahoma where they're getting, they want to pass the, school choice thing and, that kind of thing where that just opens up more opportunity for Epic and others to steal money.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not as easy to steal money from a public school system because the reality was, look what it took. It took Allison Janney. It took the auditor, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had to not follow up on anything, which in my limited experience, the auditor always gets fired because it's anything. All that should have been caught. It should not have ever happened.
Yeah, and the fact that then he starts looking into it, and after he already kind of
spends an hour, he figures out it's like, oh my god.
Yes, just from an hour of looking into it, he's like, oh wait a minute, but then he goes to Hugh Jackman, and Hugh Jackman where he's later talking to Hugh Jackman, and Hugh Jackman's like, hey, I don't be looking in on me, this is, I could easily spin it onto you. That
Yeah.
just the finger pointing is amazing. Like that, it starts to turn into that of like, you know, if you should have done this should have been your responsibility. And then like, oh, well, I didn't know. And like, and no one wants to sort of take responsibility for it. This is a great film. Like
It is. And the story is,
really
I mean, it really went true to life to the story too. There were 25 total people indicted, you know, and obviously the superintendent is Allison Janney and Hugh Jackman's characters both, you know, they both went to prison for it.
Yes.
And he paid it back. He had 2.2 million is how much he took, and he paid it all back. But he still gets his pension.
Yes.
From the school district.
That was what it ended on.
Yeah.
That's a
he
little.
Still gets that, and I think she paid half of it back before she died.
So
but
what?
She still got her pension.
Oh, I didn't know she died.
I didn't know she died either.
I think I read where she did a couple years ago.
It's interesting. See, what was also great is like Hugh Jackman's the center of it, of course, but like, and he gets a lot of screen time and all that and a lot of things, but it's also an ensemble piece. Like you really get to know all of the girl who's the journalist. Like you get to know that, like there's this thing set up like, wait, what is her deal with her father? And then that sort of paid off later. And like adds an interesting nuance to it as well. Like, you know, and like that he provides an interesting perspective as to like, because it's revealed what his, I don't know. We revealed a lot of these different stuff. You don't want to go through all of it, but there's an interesting thing there. Like what I'm saying is like there each character, there's a lot there, and like the ensemble gets a lot of great scenes to sort of explore their characters well too, which is not the case typically in movies where like every character has like an interesting arc and an interest. Like every character has an arc, really, and that's something that's interesting. Or and this type, I like this type of movie. Like I know Andrew was talking about that a bit. Like it's a crime movie. It's a true crime, but you know, about not like a murder or anything. It's like it's a financial crime, and I like those sort of. It's a true crime ensemble. I mean, HBO does that a lot with different things. Like that's kind of their bread and butter. So I get why they bought the rights to this film, but it does it in a better way than I've seen of like. Than where other films would go about it in a completely different way. This does it. It really sticks in with the character. Andrew brought up Wolf of Wall Street with like it dealing with like finance crimes, but this does it. I think it's a better film as I'm concerned. It's not as flashy. It's not as. Oh, is everything okay?
I think Ollie just fell off his. Ollie, are you okay? Oh, there's his tail. Hi, Bubby. Are you okay? Are you okay?
Is he okay? He fell off.
Sometimes it's tough being a dog, isn't it? It's so hard being a dog sometimes. I know. Mom's not supposed to move that table, is she? But I had to close the curtains. I know. It's okay.
He's a little upset.
Yeah.
He's traumatized a bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry for all your podcast listeners. You're not able to see Ollie's face right now.
See poor Ollie. He's having a moment. It's okay.
Okay. Anything else? We didn't really go through the top three. I had a lot of things. My three were Hugh Jackman, Allison Janney, and the writing, which I think we covered.
That pretty much covers everything I got. This is just a really just amazing film.
Yeah.
And I wish it would have got, I mean, it came out in 2020, so it probably wouldn't have got like a giant opening, but you know, and for what it was, man, it was really good.
Yes. And it was shot on film. We didn't talk about that. It's very obviously shot on film, which was at first I was like, when it was opening up, I'm like, why is this movie on film? Like I was kind of just more like, this does not seem the type of movie that you would need to waste film stock on and do. But I at the end of the day, like it was beautiful, and that like it's I still don't know if it was, I don't know. At the end of the day, it's not. I'm not on the budget thing of who, but I don't know why a movie like this of this small sort of scale would you waste money to be on film stock. But it's still pretty. It was pretty.
I understand why they would do that, because like if it was shot on film stock, I mean, it wasn't digital. I mean, digital cameras were not the thing then. So, you know, they still were working with film. That was the majority that held the majority of everything. But no, I understand that. I did not know this was shot on film. That's interesting.
Well, so I had read that originally they had they thought that they were going to release it theatrically. That was the plan, was to release it theatrically. Yeah. So which would make more sense as shooting it on film instead of just putting it on a streaming platform.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was.
I will say this: there was one thing I wanted to point out. Like one of the characters in the opening was on a Motophone Razor.
Yes.
And
this Hugh Jackman has a Motorola Razor.
Yeah. This movie takes place in like 2002, I guess. And I'm like, somewhere. You know, that phone is like 4 years ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Because the first one wasn't seen until like 2006.
It takes
it's hard to get those. Yeah, hard to get those phones from those times.
Mm-hmm.
No kidding.
Yeah, no, it's vaguely early 2000s. Like I don't know if it's clear where in the early 2000s it takes place, but it's because like even on the thing it just says early 2000s. So I think they were just. I mean, like if you had to pick a phone from the early 2000s, you'd pick a Motorola Razor, or at least I would. That's the one. But yeah, I mean, of like if you're gonna make a film, like you know, what film would you what would you want your characters to be using? And it would make sense for Hugh Jackman's character to use a Motorola Razor, being that he's so appearance focused, because that was the big one of the time. You know, that was all the advertisements and all the things.
I had one.
You had one, yeah. No, they were cool.
They were cool.
They were cool.
And they were good. They were good phones for their time.
Yes.
You know, this the director for this, I was just looking this up. You know, he's another one of these new directors, Corey Finley.
Yes.
You know, I think he's done a couple other movies, but you know, lately it seems like I think movie making and filmmaking are in good hands. Mm-hmm. You know, because there's a lot of new filmmakers out there that are really doing some amazing work.
Yes.
And I think this guy's one of those.
He did Thoroughbreds. Did you watch Thoroughbreds, Andrew? You ever seen that one?
No.
That's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's Anya Taylor-Joy from, you know, The Witch fame and Split and all that stuff. And it's
Queen's Gambit.
Yeah, Queen's Gambit. Anton Yelchin, I think it's his like final role.
Oh.
And so it's a good movie. And people like try to say it's what it was advertised as was American Psycho meets Heathers. And so that's what it was advertised as. And it takes place in New York, and it's it's good. I think this is a better film though. I don't know. I'm trying not. I feel like I was overselling, and I keep trying to think I'm underselling this one. Like I am floored by how amazing this film is. Like each scene is just brilliant, and I can't recommend this film enough. This is a brilliant film.
You're not wrong.
I was impressed. No, I was impressed with Hugh Jackman's. Sorry, I was going to change the subject almost. So, well, the accents. In this, you know, when you spend time in New York, you realize there's a lot of different accents in New York. Everybody's, that's a New York accent. Well, not really. Staten Island is different than Queens versus Long Island, etc. And I love that they did that not everybody sounded the same.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
And Hugh Jackman's was probably the softest of all of them.
But it would also make sense with that character to soften your accent. Like,
well, yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, yeah. But go ahead, Andrew. I'm sorry.
No, I just want to say that this movie was just pretty flawless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot that can be said about this except like, you guys are doing bad stuff y'all shouldn't be doing. And it's just people who are trying to be smart with their crime and they end up screwing up anyway.
Yes.
And smart people finding out what they're doing.
Yes. And who finds it out is also interesting. We didn't talk about like that. Like that's a fascinating story that like, that like the fact, I mean, I think that it's pretty clear from going on, but like this is exposed by the school newspaper. Like, and it becomes a huge news story later with all these people, but it's the school newspaper. And like he ends up being the downfall early on from his whole thing, like because of the advice that he gives that girl is also fascinating. And it's just because he wanted to be liked by her. That's at the end of the day, that's like he wanted to be just like his downfall is just wanting to be liked and wanting people to like him. And I think that's fascinating. And just from an inkling of just one person of telling them just like, hey, you know, just trying to give them some sort of advice just so that he's liked by them. Like, because he could tell his thing is he could tell people what they want and what they sort of want to hear. And like, that was, she comes in and is like, oh, I'm doing this puff piece. Like, it's clear that that's what she's not like doing it. And like, that's what and so he tells her what she wants to hear and makes her believe it herself. And that ends up causing his downfall. I think that's fascinating. I think it's just little things like that. That's not like hit you over the head, but it's just little nuggets of that. And each scene is brilliant cinema, and it's not flashy. No. It's not flashy. And I think like his previous film, Thoroughbreds, is a flashy film. So if you want to see him do a little bit more flashy of a film, there's that. And it's fascinating that he follows this up with this film where it's like, it's straightforward, but it's brilliant. It's brilliant, and there's no fat on the bone. It's this is there's nothing I would cut. There's nothing I would change. It's a brilliant film. Okay, ratings time. Andrew, what are you going to give this?
This is easily a 5-star movie.
5-star.
Hands down. 5 stars.
I'm misspelling stars over and over again as I'm typing that. There you go. It's typing with one hand. You
keep that misspelling in there.
Is that going to go on your letterbox, Andrew?
You know what? I think it will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it going to be recommended on your other podcast?
Well, I mean, like it's not a sequel, so. So probably not. It's also not new neither.
See, I think that's the difference there. Like, if you want Andrew to talk about like new things and stuff like this, I like this show as being like we get to like discover these films that like no one's really talking about, or like it's well after people have talked about it, and this is one that I feel like people may have talked about it, I just missed it, but I have not heard anyone talk about this, and no. I think it deserves to be talked about. It's an amazing film. Diane, what are you going to give it?
Definitely worth seeing. It's probably the best movie I've ever seen based on a true crime situation. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, we have our Datelines, we have our 2020s and all that, which are great, don't get me wrong, but this was a movie, and it gave you 360 view of the characters in it, and I love that part of it. And Ollie's going to give it both his paws. You don't have thumbs, do you? You would give it thumbs, wouldn't you, if you could? I'm going to give it both my thumbs and his paws.
Okay.
I don't know how you do that, but yes.
Yeah, no, and this film, like, whenever you say it's like it's just about financial crimes, that you would imagine that it's going to be kind of a dull film or something. It's never dull. It's never dull. I was able to find paw emojis as well. Diane.
Oh, yay!
It's kind of dark, but yeah, you can see it a little bit there.
Ollie, I can't make it any better.
You could put your hand over it, maybe, if it would. Put your hand.
Where's my hand? There's my hand. Give me some hands. Hands.
The other way.
How about I just do this?
There you go.
There we go. Okay. So yes, it's not boring in any way. And the thing is what's the crime? They stole money, but it's also a crime the way that educators get treated.
Yes. And
the lack of money they make when they bring so much into an area that's worth money. That's
Yes. And it's like it talks about how bad what they did is bad. Like it doesn't like shy away from like saying this what they did is bad. Like, and like they focus in on like that they should have been giving back to the school. The school's run down, like they were taking some things there and putting it in their pocket. But it also kind of says, it shows their perspective. Like it shows why that they would sort of think that way. And you kind of like, well, their perspective's also fair, but it's also flawed, and it's
well, what's flawed is the crime that they committed.
Yes.
Their perspective, I don't think is flawed. I think that, let's put it this way. Jerry Jones is making a load of money off a stadium that Arlington, Texas built for him.
Yes. It's a specific
Our
example.
teachers don't make it.
There's a lot of examples that are not that, but yes, there's many examples, yes, that of where people, like, it's unfair, and that, like, and it's like Ray Romano living in this nice house, and all these people, like, that they are able to sort of live this comfortable life, and it's viewed as like that's okay and that's right, but whenever he sort of takes some, like, from essentially their money and putting it in his pockets, you can see how he rightfully thinks that. It's nuanced, and of course that it should be going to the kids, and they certainly, but at the end of the day, he's brought him to be the fourth in the country, so it's like, it's kind of like he's given quite a bit of himself. Like, well, you see Allison Janney and him both, they get to work early, and they're like, and they're there late. There's a whole scene if he shows up there at the office and she's there working late. Like there's, and like Allison Janney, where she's like, that whole scene where she's lost her job and she's like, this is my career. I have devoted my whole life to this. That scene where she's with her family. I'm sorry, we're supposed to be wrapping this up, but that scene where she's with her family and she's sitting there and she's talking about how she's devoted her whole life to this, that she's went from the bottom of being these secretaries and these different things and worked her way up and went to school and went to all these things to get to the point where she's at now, and that it's sort of being taken away from her. And like, that was an amazing scene. There's so many great scenes in this.
And that's I love the sandwich scene too, because that's really what sets the whole thing up. Because they talk about how many figures, like does Ray Romano's character make 6 or 7 figures? Probably 7. I mean, look where he lives. Yeah. And, and look what the school district has done for their houses and their market here. It's better than a pro football team. Yeah. As far as the payoff, right?
That's America's team, Diane, that you're talking about.
Hey, I know. I have been to games there, so and I've done the stadium tour, which I recommend.
I've done the stadium tour. It's really, really cool.
It really is. It's a cool stadium. The locker rooms are really neat because they have their pictures above the locker. I guess in case they got lost.
Yeah. They have too much head injury that they forget.
Yeah. Well, they do that in
that's
the
my
cheerleaders
face.
too.
Yeah.
Cheerleaders too. That's
Yeah.
That's me. Oh, that must be my locker.
And the fact that, like, the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, they can't date the player. They get in trouble for dating the players, but it does not work the opposite way. Like that, like the players can date cheerleaders, but the cheerleaders can't date players, or they lose.
I wouldn't know. I did work with a former Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. They don't make any money.
Yes. And the fact that they can't take any of their clothes, their uniform, like when they retire or whatever, they get a single boot, because they say that they can't sell that. They can't sell a single boot, so they get a single boot to have. So
I didn't know that either.
That's a whole thing. Yeah. It's not fair. It's not right. But oh well.
They're exploited.
Yeah, they're exploited. I give this a movie a diamond. And it's I could have given it a money bag. I could have given it a lot of things, but I
was surprised. I thought you would do like a money bag.
But I want to have a rating system in which this is a supreme movie. This is a amazing, so this is top tier, guys. There might be something later that's developed that's above that, but this movie is top tier. This is, like Andrew said, it works later. He said it was flawless. It's a flawless movie. It's flawless like a diamond. It is a beautiful, beautiful film. And I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah. Agreed, Andrew?
Say what?
Do you agree?
So do you agree?
Absolutely.
Can't recommend it enough.
This movie, damn, is all I got to say. So,
damn.
It should be a gold standard for, like, true films. Like if it should be something that's pointed to, of, like, if you're going to tell a movie about some sort of crime, especially a financial crime, but, like, if not even that, like, it's just a true movie in general, of like looking at an actual character and like being like, well, why did they do it? Because I feel like not enough movies, and we talked about that with the bling ring and other things. Why are they doing this? And this movie, that's the whole movie. The whole movie is why, and that's brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah. It's a brilliant movie. It's just a brilliant character study. I can't. We've talked about it enough to death. But it's amazing.
Would you say it's the opposite of the bling ring?
Yeah, and it's in many ways it is the opposite of the bling ring.
I think Andrew should have to go watch the bling ring now, just because.
I honestly think that this would have been a better pairing with the bling ring to sort of show, and then like we could have watched Bad Words with Hunt for the Wilderpeople.
Someone asked me how we picked the two movies that we're going to see because is there any relationship between the two or anything like that? And I'm like, no.
It's completely
I don't think
random.
there is.
Yeah. We oftentimes will come up with some sort of thread on the day that's like, oh, this is something we try. I don't know if there's really a thread this time.
No, there's not. I looked everywhere.
Yeah. I don't see. I mean, Hugh Jackman. They've both done Marvel things. Hugh Jackman with Logan, and Taika Waititi with Thor. Yeah. There's something there.
That's really a push, though.
It is a push because they're not technically even the same Marvel. Fox Marvel.
Hugh Jackman's from Australia.
Yes, there's that. I mean, maybe that's we could really push this. But then again, you could say anybody's been in a superhero movie at this point.
You can't really use that one anymore, can you?
No. Okay, we're gonna head into preview time, in which we talk about the upcoming features for next week. We decide randomly what those are going to be. So see you after this short message.
And now, preview time. When it comes to entertainment, you can't beat a good film. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
A good film.
That's right, Andrew. When it comes to entertainment, you just can't beat a good film.
You can't beat a good film.
Oh, thank you, Andrew.
Okay, so
this is all I can with what I got.
We got another week. So we'll see. We're gonna decide. I forgot where I was at for a moment. We're going to decide what our films are for next week. Feature 1, feature 2, and that's our show, Double Feature Movie Club. These are movies that we haven't seen before. Andrew, you'll choose feature 1. So between 1 and 20, give me a number. 1 and 20.
I'm gonna go with the number 1.
Number 1. Okay.
Ooh, good
That's
one,
interesting.
Andrew. Good.
Yes. It is a movie called Freaks. Freaks.
Uh-huh.
Freaks.
Okay, Andrew. We need to talk.
I just chose the number. I didn't choose the movie.
So it's 2018. It's they call it a science fiction thriller. Okay.
There we go. I like science fiction.
Bruce Dern is in it, so that's fun.
Oh gosh.
It says it's free on Tubi right now, so you can watch it absolutely for free.
Okay.
Which I believe it might also be on Netflix. Let me check that out before I say that live on air, which I know I just did, but I'm checking and making sure I'm fact checking live. It is on Netflix.
Okay.
So
Netflix. This is his follow-up to his Oscar-winning performance. Didn't he win an Oscar?
He won no. Oh, he didn't win for Nebraska?
No.
I thought he won for. But he won.
But he was nominated.
He was nominated, but he didn't win.
Okay.
Who won that year, Andrew? Andrew's
what year was it?
Our Oscar guy. I don't know what year that was.
If it was 2018. If it was 2018. Oh, no. If it was 2017, I really don't remember.
It was 2014.
Oh, 2014.
It's well in advance.
So that would have been probably Matthew McConaughey for Dallas Buyers Club.
Oh.
Would
okay.
Nebraska probably would have been a supporting role, right?
For Bruce Dern, no.
It wasn't. Oh, it wasn't.
No,
Okay.
he was a lead role in that.
Wouldn't Will Forte be the main role in Nebraska?
No,
Okay.
Yeah, but, I mean,
So you're saying that's what he got nominated for? I mean, I've seen the movie. I would say that Bruce Dern was a supporting actor, but okay.
yeah. Eddie Redmayne won for Stephen Hawking for The Theory of Everything in 2014. Bruce Dern won. No, Bruce Dern did not win. He lost to Matthew McConaughey.
Because it was the following year. This is.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is important to anybody else. Oh no, it's 2013 would have been the. So yeah, he lost to Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Boy, that was a trip that was not necessary, but okay.
That was a trip. That was a trip.
Emil Hirsch is in this.
Mm.
Emil Hirsch.
Oh yeah.
When he Into the Wild or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it should be fun.
He was in Into the Wild.
So yeah, the Emil Hirsch, yeah.
It's not gobble 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 gobble. One of us. It's another movie called Freaks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it's from 1932.
Yeah, that's what there's that one. It's not that one. So great. Thank you, Andrew, for picking that. I don't think Andrew might not be on it for next week. We'll see. But Diane, you ready to select the feature number 2?
Number 20.
Number 20?
Mm-hmm.
Number
We're
20.
going bookends.
The party's just beginning. We're picking things that are very, very niche. This is our niche episode. The party's just beginning. 2018 as well. Or no, what was the other one? 2018. It's free. Also, It's on Pluto TV. So these are all movies that are no excuses next week, audience. Free movies out. Both of them. It stars Karen Gillan and Lee Pace. Both of
a lovely Pace.
Yeah, these are both from Guardians of the Galaxy. So
these actors have done other things besides Marvel movies.
Yeah, Karen Gillan was
Daisies. Yeah,
she was Amy Pond from Doctor Who's, where I knew her from first.
Oh. There's a sequel to Freaks too, by the way, Andrew. It's called Freaks. You're One of Us. Yes, there is. It's
hot diggity.
The old Freaks or the new Freaks?
September 2020.
Oh, the Freaks that we're doing.
Yeah, there's a sequel to the Freaks we're doing that came out in 2020. And so I think you should add that to your podcast.
Okay. I will tell them that.
Yep, it looks like Freaks is on Netflix too.
Yes, Freaks is on Netflix, and then probably just beginning someplace else is for free. But okay, that is our movies that we're doing next week. This was fun. It's fun doing movies that we enjoy. We'll see if people enjoy that as much. We certainly had a lot to talk about for Bling Ring last week, if you missed that. So if you're watching this as a podcast later, you can always join in live Sundays at 6 on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Cade Thomas. Or if you're watching this later on YouTube, you can always join in live if you want to do that. But it's always available later as well, at your leisure, at your listening leisure, as they don't say. I don't think anyone says that, but I'll say it, at your listening leisure.
Listening leisure.
I did want to preview that this Wednesday, a great project that I've been working on is being released, and that is the Great Girl Scout cookie taste test video is being released this Wednesday on my YouTube channel. It's an hour long deep dive into Girl Scout cookies and the two. So I'll preview it here slightly. There is 2 bakeries in the United States that make Girl Scout cookies. My friend Alex and I traveled across to Kansas to get these other cookies and to bring them back here to taste test the differences and choose which bakery is the best. And we brought on a lot of friends. We have Hannah and Joseph of Ribbon fame. If you've watched my feature film Ribbon, then they're from that. And then also Diane, Andrew, and Kenna of Double Feature Movie Club fame are also on that video taste testing.
One of my top 10 experiences ever to taste test Girl Scout cookies. We even had milk. It was wonderful, wasn't it, Andrew?
It was.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of sugar was being just ingested.
Just ingested, yes. Yeah.
And both Diane and I left with a new favorite Girl Scout cookie.
That's right.
It was not our number one going in, but we left it being like, oh no, that's the best. And I stand by it. I might have to go up to Kansas to get it.
That's right. Every year we'll have to make a trip to Kansas to get this Girl Scout cookie, but it was definitely it would be worth it, I think.
Yeah.
I think we could probably, sell it on the black market here.
Yeah, I think so.
Girl Scout cookie black market. It could exist.
Yeah. So we'll see how this video does. I hope people connect. I'll tell you, I've really enjoyed it, and I've sent it over to Alex to sort of look at it. It's really a fun video, and it edits down, and it's really great. Joseph, Joseph's great in it, and so it's a really fun video, and hope you check it out this Wednesday. Then if you don't subscribe to the YouTube channel and do all that, you should do that.
Yes, definitely subscribe.
Subscribe.
So you can at least get notifications when our next Double Feature Movie Club comes out.
Yes. We'll see how next week, when we go even more niche than we've ever gone before, plays out.
There you go.
These movies are pretty niche next week. So we'll see you next week for those films right here on Double Feature Movie Club. Thanks for watching.
Bye, y'all.